Hi, it's Scott. ROCKFILE back with another podcast review for you. Let's talk about the 2024 film, Twisters. The short version is I liked it. If you like the original, you need to watch this one, period. End of story. Now the review. I thought it was good. It follows the same template as the first movie. Starts off with a flashback, kind of sets the tone. You've got a group of quirky characters and another group of quirky characters, and there's competition, and there's flirting, and there's some great tornado action scenes. There's some family time later in the movie, and in the end, you have a great showdown of sorts, and all in all, 2 hours well spent if this is the kind of movie you're looking for. If you love the original Twister for the roller coaster ride it is, this is another one. I'm not going to say it's better or worse than it's pretty much on par with the first one. I just watched it about a month ago when it came out on 4K. The new Dolby Atmos soundtrack was great. The film looked fabulous, but there's no mistaking this. Although it kind of does have a little of the look of the original movie. They do some different things with the cinematography. They do some different things with the storms. As realistic as Twister still looks all these years later, Twisters looks even more realistic. It was seamless. The special effects are fantastic. You should have known that this movie was going to be great when Steven Spielberg and Frank Marshall, the guys who produced the original, are the executive producers on this one. Had a $155 million budget. It went on to gross $371 million, which is not a super hit, but is a hit. And we may get another movie. Not that they've said anything. It just leaves it open at the end. They did some little left turns here and there, which I thought was pretty good for a movie like this. You expect certain things to happen, and they didn't. Other things that you do expect did. Lee Isaac Chung directed this, and he's only directed a couple movies before this after he graduated film school. Minari was his last movie, would give you no inclination that he could direct this kind of movie. But he did a fabulous job on par with what Jan de Bont, who was a great action director, did with the first movie. I actually found my heart racing during some of these storm scenes. That's how well done they are, as well done as the original movie. There are people who are always going to love the original because it was a formative movie in their childhood or something they've seen 100 times on home video or cable. But I'm telling you, as new movies go that are revisiting a universe, it's not really, it is a sequel, I guess. It's not really a reboot. Like I said, it follows the same kind of template, but you have new characters doing new things. New science is introduced. More science is introduced, which I really like that. Sure, there's some things that stretch credibility, but aren't there always in these movies? It's still a 2-hour roller coaster ride that didn't have too much downtime. The scenes in between the mass destruction that is unleashed on the screen were not too long. We're there to propel the story forward. I don't think you really could have cut out some of the side things and still had a decent movie. You've got to have some oomph to care about these characters and all. I will say 2/3 of the movie, they have kind of a mom scene like we had in the first movie, and that was probably unnecessary. You might be able to lift that scene right out of the movie and continue on, but it was 5 minutes, maybe 10 at the most. I think all in all, my 2 hours was well spent watching the movie. Now, talking about the 4K, state of the art. It is a 5 out of 5 video transfer. Looks fantastic. No errors at all. No compression artifacts. They used a super high bit rate. Funny. Watched an old Blu-ray the other night, Pacific Rim, or an old 4K that came out at the beginning of the 4K, and it has a pretty low bit rate on it, even though it looks fantastic. This movie, we've learned all these years later, because I think Pacific Rim came out in 2019. So 5 years later, we're authoring these 4Ks much, much better with higher bit rates. It's a Universal Blu-ray. It was a co-production between Universal Pictures and Warner Brothers. Universal did the blue. Looks fantastic. 5 out of 5. The extras are also on the Blu-ray, so it's 100 gigabyte discs not to compress the movie, and it has a Dolby Atmos soundtrack, which is as active as the old one, if not more so. Really, there are scenes that I can just replay in the movie just to listen to. Yeah, the effects are incredible, don't get me wrong, but the soundtrack, the different things you can hear in the roar of the storms, the things swirling around, whether it be speakers or cars or livestock or whatever, there's just all sorts of sensory overload of sounds going around your surround sound system during this film. Another 5 out of 5 for video, 5 out of 5 for sound. around, this is a reference disc and one of the ones I will highlight at the end of the year. As far as the movie goes, I'd give it a 3.5 out of 5, almost a 4. I'd give the original about a 4, so they're on par. And honestly, because I've seen this one less and it has more state-of-the-art effects, I would probably pull this one out before I pull the original out, or maybe watch them as a double feature. It was really well done. Glenn Powell, I liked him in Top Gun Maverick. I thought he was good in this. He fit those roles. I don't know what else the guy can do because I haven't really watched a lot of his movies, but he fit this role and was good in it. Daisy Edgar Jones is the star. She's the star in the flashback at the beginning. She's basically the Holly Hunter character, but she's a different character. She's from a small town, but she lives in New York now, and she's called back to storm chasing and all that. She has a whole different dynamic. They don't get too much into romance. They don't force a romance between there is a bit of a love triangle going on, but they don't really force it because that's not really what this is about. This is about the storms and people who chase the storms and people that are trying to do. That's another thing that they haven't really talked about, but one of the biggest plot points is they're trying to help. And that's something they really didn't do so much. Well, they wanted early warning systems, but we're actually physically trying to do stuff now to affect storms or whatever. It's science fiction still in modern times, but it plays well in the movie and it's action packed. Like the set pieces, 5 out of 5. I mean, Spielberg, Frank Marshall, Twister team, people that worked on the original movie have outdone themselves. The whole tornado scene at the refinery is pretty impressive as well. I thought a lot of it was really impressive. And how it ends, again, nice big ending that takes place in a place that was probably really cool to watch when you're in the theater. But I don't want to get into spoilers. All in all, this sits great on the shelf. It's a nice steelbook, by the way. It's a Walmart exclusive steelbook you can find in stores. They sold out online, but my store here in Alaska had 8 or 9 of them, so you should be able to find one. It's a glossy steelbook, but it's nice artwork with just trucks and tornadoes on the front. No floating heads or anything else that we usually get these days with artwork. All in all, wow, I was really very impressed with the movie. I'm blown away. It's not the best movie I've seen this year, but Twister wasn't the best movie I saw that year either. It's a good Twister movie, and they didn't screw it up. Hey, some of these reboots, revisits, re-whatevers, long-term sequels have turned out well. This one did. It obviously made a lot of money. And man, all the comments, people now, is it going to be streaming? Is it going to be streaming? And they finally announced 2 days ago it's going to be on Peacock. I'm telling you again, mention it again, buy a cheap 4K player if you have a nice TV and watch videos like we used to on hard copies. It's so much better. Since I have, gotten more into my settings on my TV and a new 4K player, I'm just noticing more and more differences between streaming. The audio is much better from a disc and the video is much better. It's tangible even to somebody like me who's not exactly an expert. So anyway, Twisters gets 2 thumbs up, one of my highest recommendations of the year. Everybody should like this movie. I don't know why you wouldn't. 2 hours of Twister action. Well done. I hope they make more. I'm Scott. I'm ROCKFILE. Thanks for checking out a podcast today. There's a whole lot more coming. So thank you for listening. Have a spectacular day.